Welcome to Secret Story, the beginning of the end. That I looked at her, not believing what was about to happen. Elle, I love you more than anything in my life, but if you walk out that door tonight and do what you plan on doing, I will not be here when you come home if you do come home. At first, Elle ignored my statement and kept fixing her makeup. Then she stopped, put down her makeup tools, turned around, and looked at me. I stood across the room, leaning against my closet door jamb. She wore the silk robe she normally wore to do her makeup. I knew she was excited about tonight. I wasn't clear whether she was excited about going on a date or if it was about her taking control and defying me. I guess it could be both. As I think back to last night, I could never have anticipated I would be dealing with this moment. We lay in each other's arms, basking in the afterglow of our beautiful lovemaking session, professing our total devotion and undying love for each other. We had rekindled our discussion of starting a family. We agreed that since the pandemic was under control now, this year, we would start making babies. We cuddled and slept soundly in each other's arms. That was the way our morning started. We went to work and couldn't wait to see each other at the end of the workday. I thought our life was perfect until earlier this afternoon when I discovered I was wrong. Elle sat on the stool, her body partially exposed to me, looking into my eyes. She was chewing her lower lip, a true tell that she was very nervous and wanted to say something. I looked at her with total disgust for what she was preparing to do. I was seeing a different woman, not my loving wife. Finally, Elle opened her mouth and made a ridiculous statement, something far below her intellectual level. Tommy, you will not leave me over this. I made no move, nor did I respond in any way. I just stood there leaning against my closet door jamb. My face showed her nothing, as my eyes burned laser holes in her, and my heart was breaking. Elle stared at me, hoping I would respond. Hoping her statement would start a discussion, but there would not be one. If Elle followed through and did what she was dressed to do, we were through. As much as I love her and know how hard it would be to leave her, I am a strong-willed man and will leave our house for the last time tonight while she is on her date. Divorce would follow immediately, without any reluctance. That we looked at each other and said nothing. Elle finally smirked and turned to finish her makeup with an arrogance I had never seen before. That I went into my closet and closed the door. I was sad and had tears, but I refused to let Elle see them. I pulled down 2 suitcases and began to pack enough clothes for about 2 weeks. I had a place I could stay without notice for a short while. Elle would not know where I was going or how to contact me. When I finished packing, I turned to the door, realizing I was about to do the hardest thing I had ever done. I opened the door and stepped back into our bedroom. I took a deep breath, shocked at what I saw. It took a second for me to gather myself. I stood frozen, looking at her. Tea stir, but then I thought of what she would do dressed this way. I was instantly back to the same anger level, feeling total disgust. I made no comment or gesture as I carried my 2 suitcases out of the closet. I sat them down and went to my dresser to gather additional items. I put them in a medium-sized duffel. Then went into the bathroom for all my toiletries. I walked back out past Elle. She had not moved a muscle, just sat watching me. She seemed she didn't believe what she was seeing me do. I gathered my duffel and suitcases, turned, and walked out of the bedroom and down the hall. As I reached the kitchen, I heard Elle yell, "What are you doing? Where are you going? You can't leave me." I left my bags in the kitchen, entered my office, and locked the door. I knew from what Elle had told me about her plans for tonight her date would be picking her up in about 20 minutes. I had no plans to see her finish dressing or watch her leave, so I logged in and logged onto my computer to begin searching for my future. I looked at the Google screen, thinking about what I had learned a few hours ago. I had not digested today's activities and the events that led up to this minute. I was trying to understand what had happened, how it happened, and what Elle was doing. Her behavior was totally out of character and not like Elle at all. I was totally confused. There was no way I would allow her to act recklessly and destroy our lives without retaliation. I should give you a little background. My name is Thomas Ridge, I am 31 years old, 6 feet 1 inch tall, 185 pounds. I am a well put together man, an athletic guy. I go to the gym with my wife several evenings a week. I play tennis and golf. I like to fish and hunt with my friends. I am the owner of Ridge Runner Real Estate. I have built a successful business with 25 agents and a staff of 10. We are the second largest real estate company in Macon, Georgia. We are a very successful company selling many homes and commercial properties yearly. The pandemic slowed sales for most of last year, but the market returned. Lately, sales have been at record levels, and our business is growing again. I am involved with several civic organizations. My wife, Elle Ridge, is a real estate attorney with her practice. She has built a great own practice. They close 50% of the real estate sold in the Macon area. She is a beautiful woman. Of course, I am biased, but Elle is absolutely beautiful. She is 5 feet 7 inches tall and sleek, at 120 pounds. Elle is also very active and athletic. She plays tennis, pickleball and goes to the gym with me several nights a week. Elle also loves yoga and has tried to get me to go with her, but I can't get into it. She is a champion bridge player and has recently changed partners to compete in the mixed doubles tournaments, earning her Emerald Master points. We are a very social couple. We belong to the country club and the cotillion dance club. Elle is also involved in many women's and church activities. We are active in our Episcopal church. We are both well-liked and have many friends. Elle and I have been happily married for 6 years. We own a beautiful home near Lake Tobasofkee outside Macon. We have all the amenities, pool, hot tub, outdoor kitchen, lakefront with a great dock, and ski boat. Our marriage has been strong in every way. We have similar loves and goals. We had decided we wanted a 3-children family, and it was time to start building our family. We want to retire in our 50s, once our kids are in college, so we can travel the world and experience all those things we want to see and do. We have been on track to accomplish all these goals. Our life was perfect. Until today. We showered, dressed, had a quick breakfast, and headed off to work, happy and looking forward to seeing each other later in the day. Things were busy this morning. We had 5 current sales contracts signed before lunch. I was excited to call Elle to tell her about today's success. The calls went to voicemail, but I knew she had a couple of closings this morning, so when she didn't answer, I thought nothing of it. I left a message asking her to call me. I also texted, telling her I loved her, and asked her to call me. I got busy, and before I knew it, 1:30 p.m. rolled around, and I hadn't heard from Elle yet. That was odd, so I called her office, and Janice, her receptionist, told me she was out to lunch with a new client. I asked when she would be back and received a strange answer. Janice paused, then said, Elle told me not to expect her back today. I thought that was very curious. Elle had not told me she had anything special going on that afternoon. I wondered what was going on. I had never doubted anything Elle did, so I didn't make anything of it. Just because she had not called or texted in hours and was at lunch, it raised questions. What, Janice, did she tell you why or where she would be? Just to reschedule her calendar, which I did. Tommy, I have no idea where she was going or would go. It seems strange to me. Okay, if you hear from her, please ask her to call me. I called Elle again. The call went straight to voicemail again. I texted her once again. No response. I left another message and texted more urgently, call me. ASAP. A new customer came in right then, and my senior agents were all out. So, I met them and took a run out to look at their house to list it. I got busy for the next couple of hours, and by mid-afternoon, I realized that I had not heard from Elle all day. That was odd and so unlike her, not to respond to any of my calls or text. Something was going on, since I was out of the office after I wrote the listing on the new house, I decided to drop by Elle's office and see what I could find out. I thought it was strange that Elle had not come back from lunch. When I arrived, I talked to Janice about the 3 closings we had coming up. While we were talking, Janice got a call from Elle. I mouthed, "Is that Elle?" She nodded, so I asked for her phone, and she handed it to me. A little miffed, "Elle, it's me, where have you been? I have called and texted you a half-dozen times and received nothing back from you. Tommy, what are you doing there?" Elle's voice and tone sounded nervous. "Where are you?" I asked. "With a new client," Elle said, in a nervous voice, not sounding like her at all. "Who?" I inquired. There was a long pause. "Robert Raymond." Elle said softly. What the hell was Elle doing with Robert Raymond, the #1 realtor in Macon and my largest competitor? That in itself was not a big deal. Elle had previously hosted property closings for his company. Elle knew that I personally didn't like Mr. Raymond as a person. He was okay as a competitor. There was just something about him, I couldn't put my finger on it. Elle had also told me she did not like Robert, that he was arrogant, and that he repulsed her. Hearing her say she was with him confused me. "Why are you with Robert? Where are you? What are you doing with him?" I demanded. After another long pause, I heard muffled voices. Elle was covering the phone and talking to Robert. Then, the mic came clear, and she said, "I am shopping at the mall," her voice shaky. "What? You are at the mall shopping with Robert?" I asked forcefully. Totally confused. Another long pause, and I heard muffled voices again but could not make out what they were saying. "Elle, what is going on? Why in the hell are you at the mall shopping with Robert?" I barked into the phone, demanding an answer. Another long pause and more mumbling voices. Then, "I'll be home in an hour. Be home, and I will explain everything to you," Elle said, and she hung up. What the hell? Elle just hung up on me. She has never hung up on me before, and even when we have fought, she never hangs up on me. It really pissed me off and made me even more confused. I gave the phone back to Janice, her assistant. "What the hell is going on, Janice?" I demanded. "I'm not sure. But Elle has been more distracted since she returned from the last bridge tournament 3 weeks ago. Then Robert started showing up at all their closings and talking privately with Elle, but I could never hear any of it. They have also been out to lunch several times. I don't know Tommy, but I don't feel good about it. I feel like something is going on that is not good." Janice shared with a great deal of honesty. "Thanks, Janice, I will never tell Elle what you have told me." I left quickly, saying goodbye as I always do. I drove home, arriving there before Elle. I poured a glass of whiskey and slugged it down. It was 4:30 p.m. now. Elle should be home any minute. So, I poured another glass. Sat on the patio, and waited. I thought about what was going on. The bridge tournament was in Palm Beach 3 weeks ago, and Elle and her new partner had done well, coming in second. I know that Elle had recently changed partners so that she could play in more tournaments, including mixed couple tournaments. Elle's new partner was a strong male player, which could help her gain more points toward becoming a club master. I thought nothing of it until just now. I realized Elle had never told me who her new partner was, so I didn't know. I had never had any reason to ask her or ever doubt her at all. Elle had told me I didn't know her new partner, but he was a regional master, and by partnering, they could win more points. I thought that was great, so I encouraged her to go to Palm Beach with her new partner and win. I had no idea until Janice told me today that Elle's new partner was Robert Raymond. That made no sense, to me. It angered me that Elle had deceived me and told me her new partner was Robert. As I thought about it, all the pieces to this puzzle seemed to begin to fit together, giving me a strong, sinking feeling in my gut. I moved back inside, filled my glass again, and entered my office. I went online and logged into Elle's bridge club. I found Elle standing beside Robert Raymond, her new partner. His arm was around Elle's waist. What? I yelled aloud. Just then, I heard Elle come in. Tommy, where are you? She called out. I walked out to the kitchen seeing Elle standing there with 3 big shopping bags and a dress bag. What the hell? I wondered that I said nothing, just looked at Elle. It was up to her to explain herself. I was not going to interrogate her, she had to tell me. Elle put down the bags and laid the dress bag across the counter. I noticed the store names on the bags, they were all the mall's most expensive women's stores. I started to feel that heat crawl up the back of my neck. I am sure that Elle could see the flush spread up my neck to my face. I had a very bad feeling about all of this. I have never felt like this before. It was uncomfortable. I guess you want to know what is going on, Elle said as she sat on the stool at the counter. I said nothing and just looked at her. I am going on a dinner date tonight and needed new clothes, so I went shopping. Elle stated, quickly looking at me, then looking away. Once again, I said nothing and showed no reaction to her statement, even though what Elle said made my anger rise and eat me alive inside. Aren't you going to say something, get mad, yell at me, forbid me from going? Elle asked. She looked confused at my lack of a reaction. I just stood there and took a swallow of my whiskey. I was boiling inside. It took everything I had not to go ballistic and scream at Elle. But no, I was not giving her the satisfaction. Elle moved over, poured a glass of wine, and sat back down. She sipped her wine, swallowing harder. She wanted to say something but couldn't get it out. I finished my whiskey, put my glass in the sink, and walked out of the kitchen. Where are you going? Don't you want to know what is happening? Elle yelled that I didn't answer and walked to my office and locked the door. I heard Elle yelling at me, come back in here, I need to tell you what is going on, you need to know. I had no intention of talking with her about her date. Elle came to my office door and found it locked. She banged on the door, let me in, I need to talk with you about this like I said I would. When I didn't respond, she started. Okay, if you are not coming out, I will tell you through the door. I am going on a date tonight with Robert Raymond. I do not know when I will be home. He is picking me up at 6 p.m. We are going to dinner at a club downtown. You need to know more, but if you don't come out, I am not telling you. I made no noise even though tears started to roll down my cheeks. I also knew that if that happened tonight, our marriage would be over forever, and I would divorce her tomorrow. Okay, now you know, Elle said, and I heard her walk away. That I turned to my computer and searched for a divorce attorney. I found a list and reviewed them, and finally picked Martin Rice. He had great reviews and looked very successful. I printed out his profile for tomorrow if I needed him. That I also looked up the adultery divorce in Georgia. In Georgia, adultery is illegal, so that Elle would be in trouble, and if prosecuted, it could affect her attorney status. As for the property division, I am protected by the prenuptial agreement she signed. I started my real estate company with an inheritance from my grandfather 2 years before we married. The company has grown significantly due to my efforts and those of my employees and independent agents. Elle has never worked 1 minute for my company. I pay her closing bills just like I pay for any other legal services. I had paid all of her law school tuition, fees, and other expenses personally. My company is very successful, but I earn very little in salary. I pushed most all the profits back into the company into real estate development and rental property that the company owns. I am the sole owner, and Elle has no claim on my company. Elle's business is much more profitable than my company is on paper. Elle has paid for our mortgage, which we paid last year. Our home expenses were mine, and I purchased our BMWs for cash. Elle's salary is $250,000 yearly, whereas mine is only $100,000 annually. This is all legitimate and will make it difficult for Elle to get a dime out of me. I could even claim spousal support from Elle, as the cheater would have to pay me. I didn't want to go there. But we would have to see what happened. I felt good that I would survive the divorce fairly unscathed financially but would be devastated emotionally. Next, I went online to prepare to cut her off from any credit I was associated with. Once I had finished all my research, I held off for now but knew what I needed to do tomorrow. I looked at my watch, it was 5:20 p.m. 40 minutes until the end of my life as I knew it. It was time to confront Elle. I had gathered all my legal papers, passport, cash, and guns, placed them in a lockbox, and quietly took them to my SUV. I put other things I wanted in my SUV and returned to confront Elle. That I walked into the bedroom. Elle was finishing drying herself after her shower. The store bags she had brought home were on the bed, and the dress bag was hooked over the top of the door. Elle had pinned her hair out of the way to keep it dry. She looked as beautiful as she always did. I hated that this was happening and was totally confused about why. That I leaned against my closet door jamb and watched her as she sat down and started her makeup. I watched her decorate her face. She added shadow, powder, and fake eyelashes, building her face into a woman I didn't recognize. Who was this woman? Why was she coming out now? I was very confused, but I knew what I needed to do. I looked at her, took a deep breath, and started in on her. Elle, I love you more than anything in my life. But if you walk out that door tonight and do what you plan on doing, I will not be here when you come home, if you do come home. I stated firmly with no emotion, just stating facts. Elle ignored my statement and kept fixing her makeup. Then she stopped, turned toward me, and looked at me as she sat on the stool, looking into my eyes with her body partially exposed to me. She was chewing her lower lip, a true tell that she was very nervous and wanted to say something. 1,000 thoughts about us ran through my mind as sadness set in, and my anger hovered in the air. Finally, she opened her mouth and made a ridiculous statement. Tommy, if you knew everything, you would not leave me over this. I didn't move or respond in any way. I just stood there leaning against my door jamb. Elle stared at me, hoping I would say something, so she could get a discussion going, but I was not interested in talking. Things progressed, as I told you earlier. We looked at each other. I was shocked when I saw she had shaved her today. She rarely did that, so I knew this night was vastly different. I said nothing. She finally smirked and turned to finish her makeup. I packed and walked out of the bedroom and down the hall. As I reached the kitchen, I heard Elle yell, Tommy, what are you doing? Where are you going? You can't leave me. I put my bags in the kitchen, entered my office, and locked the door. Robert, Elle's date would be picking her up in about 20 minutes. And I had no plans to see her finish dressing or watch her leave. While searching the web, I heard her approach the door and tried to turn the knob. Tommy, open the door, Ella said firmly in her lawyer voice. That I didn't move. I looked at the door. Tommy, please open the door. Elle said louder as she twisted the knob again more aggressively. That I walked to the door and opened it. There, Elle, beautiful. My heart sank. I knew then that this was the last time I would see her as my loving wife in my house. Tommy, I am going out tonight, but it is not what you think it is. I'll be home before 11 p.m. and dressed as I am now. Nothing will have happened. Elle begged me to understand that. I just looked at Elle. Knowing what she had said changed nothing as far as I was concerned. Tommy, I will explain everything to you when I get home, and you will understand. We will be fine, and our beautiful life will go on forever. I love you, Tommy, and only you. Elle said in a begging voice. That I didn't move or say anything for minutes, just looked at the love of my life slowly vanishing. My emotions were welling up as we just looked at each other. I thought I had to take one last shot and needed to say something before she left, putting the fear of God into her. I know about you and Robert in Palm Beach and the times you have been together since you returned. Elle, if you leave with Robert for your date, I will divorce you tomorrow morning. That is the promise I make to you this very minute. I stated in a strong, angry voice. A look of shock spread across Elle's face, then changed to a defiant look as she barked, bullshit, there is nothing to know about Palm Beach, and there have been no other dates since we were back. You are making it all up. Are you 100% sure of that, Elle? I would be glad to show you the video of the two of you in Palm Beach, making out before you went to Roberts's room, or was it your room? I am not sure, but it is the two of you. I started with anger in my voice. Elle suddenly had a look of fear in her eyes. Just then, there was a knock at the door. She looked toward the door and then back at me, confused about what to do. Go or stay. Elle, your date is here. You shouldn't keep your future waiting. I said with no emotion. Elle was in a panic now. She looked at me, reaching out to kiss me. I stepped back. Elle, it has been wonderful being married to you. I will miss you and our time together. I hope Robert will take care of you starting tonight because I will no longer be here. The second you step out that door, our marriage is over, and I have no desire to ever speak to you again. I stated firmly as a second rap came on the door. Tommy, I have to go. Oh God, please do not leave me. I can explain everything, and you will understand. I'll be home by 11 o'clock and explain it all. Elle begged as she turned toward the door. Goodbye, Elle, I love you and always will. I am sad that your date with Robert is more important to you than the love we had and our marriage. I looked forward to making babies with you, but thank God we have not done that yet. You need to hurry along, don't keep your new lover waiting any longer, you are all his now, I hope he treats you as well as I have. I started strongly. I closed the office door and locked it, slumping into my chair and sobbing. I heard a rap on the front door again. Then I heard Elle walk away and open the door. There were mumbled voices, then the door closed, and an eerie quiet filled the house. I gathered myself as I sat at my desk. I searched the web for strange things, killing time, not wanting to open the door and find Elle gone. I knew she was, but seeing the vacant house would confirm that my life had just ended. Now I had to find a new one. I walked to the door, opened it, and entered the hall. It was so quiet. The only thing I could hear was my breathing. My life as I have lived with Elle was over. I walked back into my office and pulled the bottle of whiskey from the bottom drawer of my desk. I moved to the couch and took a big swig from the bottle. I turned on the Braves baseball game. I wasn't interested in the game, just the noise, any distraction, something to clutter my mind. I watched 2 innings and drank a third of the bottle. It had been 40 minutes since I heard the front door close that I took another swig and walked through the door into the hall. I listened, there was an eerie silence. I walked through the house, taking a swig every now and then as I turned all the lights off. I moved down the hall toward our bedroom and saw the door was closed. It was always open, even at night, so it was odd that it was closed. I stepped to the door, turned the knob, and pushed it open. The room was dark, with only a small amount of light filtering in through the windows. I heard soft sobbing coming from inside. I stood there at the door in shock. I could barely see her. But my wife, Elle, lay on the bed. I walked in and turned on a small light on the table. Elle lay curled up in a ball, wrapped in the duvet, shaking. I said nothing. I took off my clothes as I walked over to the bed. I lifted the duvet and slipped into bed beside Elle. I looked at the clock on the bedside table at 7:29 p.m. I marked that moment as the moment when I knew my wife loved me more than anything in the world. That I slipped in bed behind Elle. Her hot body was trembling. I pulled her against me, spooning with her. I kissed her neck. Hi. I see you are here, so you cancelled your date. Elle rolled over and looked me in the eyes. Her face was a mess, with mascara streaks down her cheeks. And puffy eyes from crying. No, Thomas, there was no date tonight, and there will never be a date. You are my husband, and I love you and only you. I need just you, Elle whispered, then kissed me softly. That I held her and whispered. Elle, you are my date tonight and every night. But tonight, We must repeat last night's bonding to solidify our love for each other. Tomorrow we will deal with all this other mess. No, Thomas, I have to tell you now before we go any further. Elle was adamant that I looked at Elle, worried that there really had been an affair with Robert. I had no idea. I had lied to her about knowing about Palm Beach, accusing them, but it worked. I was sure Elle needed to tell me something about Palm Beach and more things that had happened since that trip. I wondered what was going on. Elle sat up and covered herself with the duvet. She looked at me in the low light from the lamp. She swallowed hard and started her story, part 2, coming soon.